via Zoom, which we are. So we'll go ahead and do that. And we are actually prepared this time as well with a timer. So Keith will help us run that. Thank you so much, Keith. And we have 12 public comments tonight. And I think one of those is a group. So we will go ahead and get right into it. You ready for me, Keith?
Yes, ma'am. I'm ready to promote Dee Dee.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Hello, Dee Dee.
There, can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you. Can you please?
But you don't see me.
We don't see you, but we can hear you.
But how come you can't see me? I wonder. Did I do something wrong?
No, ma'am. I think it may be your camera. I'm not sure how your camera is set up, but that's typically the issue.
Oh, is it? Okay, that's all right.
All right, Dee Dee, can I please have you state your name and your relationship to the school district?
Yes, and is that counted against the 3 minutes or not?
Not, we haven't started it yet, no.
Okay, all right. So my name is Dee Dee Babcock, and I have for 50 years lived in this Monroe school district, over 50 years. And we bought a house on Trombley Road and I began working as a parent helper when my son began kindergarten at Maltby Elementary School. And the teacher needed some help, and I said, what can I do? And she said, I noticed she had too many butterflies, name tags on her bulletin board. And I said, what can I do to help? I'm a teacher, because I had taught for a few years before. And she said, I'll sign you up as a volunteer. And so I helped her. And my son was really upset because he said, Mom, all the other mothers have left. You need to go home. And so that began my beginning of working in the Monroe School District as a parent. And then after that, I worked as a substitute and as an elementary principal when Janet Demoski needed to go on leave for medical leave. And she had worked with me before, and I had just retired as a principal of Gold-Bar Elementary for 12 years. And Justin called me and asked me if I would please take Jana's place. And that began until recently, until COVID. I worked in the Monroe School District as a substitute principal, as well as in the Sultan School District. So that kind of covers the work that I have done in the Monroe School District. But I'm here today, though, and I really thank each one of you for allowing me to speak, is that I would like to speak in support of Justin Blasco. I have worked with Justin for a number of years, but I've known him for longer, and I would like his contract to be retained if possible. Okay. Character matters. When Laura Grenfeld and Justin Blasco married, they became a part of our church family. They have been strong supporters of everything in our church youth program, and their families have helped with camping and been a huge support. There's never been any issue or problem with Justin or anyone that he has done. He has been remarkable. He is a rock star son-in-law and yards since Viard stroke. He's also been really a good professional. For 4 years, I worked closely with Justin as the other principal at Gold Bar Elementary. He was my co-principal for 4 years. He impressed me with his knowledge level, his work ethic, his communication skills, and organization skills. During the 12 years I was in the Sultan School District, he was by far the best administrator I ever worked with.
Edie, I'm sorry, I don't mean to cut you off. Your time is up. And so I'm wondering if you could just finish up in a couple sentences.
Sure. I believe that he should not be made a scapegoat for problems that we have. And I really believe that it would be best to work together to solve the problems, give him support if needed, and that we'll be able to be builders and not records, and collaborate and work together and listen to each other if there are issues, and build support around Justin to help him, because it's difficult to be a superintendent in this time and place with COVID and all of the other problems that districts have at this time. So thank you for your consideration. Thank you for your time. And I think it would just be best if we could work it out. And if I can be of any help in any way, I would be glad to be helpful. Thank you.
Thank you, Dee Dee. Keith, can you promote Robin?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Okay, you're up, Robin.
Thank you for all your hard work behind the scenes. You run these meetings like clockwork, so thank you. Thanks for having me tonight. My name is Robin Hayashi, and I'm speaking tonight as the president of Monroe Education Association, MEA. And I have several questions that I would like voiced on the record. I hereby request that your responses to these questions be in a public format in the spirit of the full transparency that our staff and community deserves. First, I'd like to thank you for recognizing the need for a full investigation into the allegations against Justin Blasco that have been brought up over the last month. Putting Blasco on administrative leave and promising an independent investigation is an important step in the right direction. However, I would like to shed light on recent developments which indicate that his administrative leave is not being taken seriously by the board. I would like to bring it to the attention of the community and those individuals listening tonight that being put on administrative leave is nothing to take lightly. By being put on administrative leave, you are required to not have contact with anyone who is in any and all school district events. I'm sorry, anyone who is in connection with the school district. So no contact, and that includes taking part in or participating in any and all school district events. The Human Resources Department or the group in charge of the employee are required to make sure the employee is abiding by these restrictions and or terms. In this case, I would assume it would be the school board who would be in charge of making sure that their employee does not violate his administrative leave terms. With that said, it has come to our recent attention that Justin Blasco was in attendance at a recent Monroe Rotary meeting under his role as superintendent while on administrative leave from our district. This organization has recently been in contact with Justin Blasco by telephone and publicly vowed support for Superintendent Blasco during the investigation. My understanding is that Mr. Blasco's role within the Rotary Club is to specifically represent the Monroe School District, which is why the district pays for his monthly Rotary membership per Board Policy 5525. Which begs the question, were you, school board, aware ahead of time of his attendance at this meeting? What exactly are the terms of his administrative leave? Are they different than any other administrator's leave provisions? Did his attendance at such a meeting not constitute a violation of that leave? Additionally, to my knowledge, this meeting was held for the sole purpose of showing the Monroe Rotary Club what work the school district was planning to do with Bill De La Cruz. The purpose for this meeting would constitute it being considered a district event and not just a normal Rotary Club meeting, would it not? Board members Whitfield and Bumpus were both also present at this meeting, which means they knowingly continued to hold this meeting in Justin Blasco's presence during his administrative leave. For what purpose? This further continues the pattern of breach of trust issues that have long been problematic in our district under the leadership of Justin Blasco. Additionally, I hereby make a public request for the details of the firm or persons running the investigation of Justin Blasco. In order for the investigation to be fair and unbiased, it needs to be conducted by an independent third-party agency or person. We ask that you make the details public, including the name of the agency tasked with this responsibility and when that investigation will begin. At this point, it is starting to appear that by allowing Justin Blasco to be present at this district event, you've already made up your minds about the outcome of the investigation. Only when you practice full transparency will you be able to earn back the trust of the students, community, and staff that you serve. We look forward to your timely public response to the questions presented here tonight. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Robin. Keith, can you please promote Greg?
Yeah, one moment. Okay, here comes Greg.
Hey, Greg.
Hello.
Hi, can you please state your name and your relationship with the school district?
Sure. My name is Greg Acaturo. I'd start out with saying good evening to the newly and previously elected directors and interim Superintendent Whitworth and staff members present as well. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to address the board. Having served as a past board member in the Monroe School District and my being a long-term patron of this district, I respect the role that each of you play in leading our school district in delivering an excellent education in a safe environment for all of our students and staff. I know that the role of a board member as an elected official is a difficult one to play, especially in times like now where there's divisiveness seems to be so pervasive. Thank you for stepping up into that role, I guess, and representing our community to do the important work that you're involved in. As board members, each of you are elected to represent the values of our community in terms of assuring the access to an excellent and education and a safe environment for both our students and staff. Your work is done through setting policies that are consistent with the law and that represent the values of our community. I am aware that the work that your work it follows a board policy outlining the expectations for civility as you conduct it. In addition to your governance role, you also have the authority to hire and fire one and only one employee. That employee is the superintendent of Monroe Public Schools, who serves at your pleasure. That individual has a weighty responsibility to administrate based on board policies and that are currently in place. And I also know that that role can be challenging, but very rewarding work. It is my belief that the superintendent is responsible to deliver on those board promises, to provide access to an excellent education in a safe environment for both students and staff. And it will be done in accordance to the policies you as board members are responsible for. Another patron in the district who knew that I had served in the past as a board member brought to my attention a Facebook post that was attributed to Interim Superintendent Whitworth. While the views that were written in the post are protected by our laws on free speech, the post was not the type of civil discourse that would be expected from a superintendent of public schools. The post used profane, vulgar language directed to individuals who are not vaccinated. The term that was repeatedly used in the post would normally send a student to the principal's office or a staff member to HR, and was, in my opinion, divisive given the fact that there are parents and the majority of our students in our district who are not vaccinated, bringing to question all students' access to an excellent education in a safe environment. Being an employment matter, I am aware that neither myself nor the community at large have all the facts. And while that is sometimes irritating, I certainly understand the reasons why. My request is that the board, through their elected responsibility to represent our community's values, consider carefully the work you do as it pertains to the hiring and firing of the superintendent of public schools for our district, and apply the same logic to both your hiring and your firing or your firing decisions if needed. Again, thank you for stepping up to the difficult but important roles that you play in our community and for giving me the opportunity to address the board.
Thank you, Greg. Keith, can you please promote Missy?
Yes, ma'am. Okay, here comes Missy.
Hi.
Hi, Missy.
Can you hear me okay?
Yep. Can you please state your name for us and your relationship to the school district?
Most definitely. Yeah, my name is Missy Maxon. I'm a nationally board certified teacher at Frank Wagner, and this is my 18th year in the district. I also have both of my children who are now grown, attended Monroe Public Schools from kindergarten until they graduated. So first, I want to say how much I appreciate you taking action in placing Superintendent Blasco on leave while a third-party investigation is conducted. Thank you. I also appreciate the communication we've been receiving from President Bumpus, Acting Superintendent Whitworth, and the cabinet. I allowed myself to become hopeful that we were moving in the right direction, and then unfortunately, I learned some information that caused me to have more concerns. Last week, Bill Dela Cruz with the district facilitating met with many groups, including community groups, and as Robin Hayashi spoke to, one of these groups was the Rotary. And last Friday, I learned also about Dr. Blasco's attendance at the meeting. I understand it's a community group and anyone can attend, but I do have some concerns. First, my assumption from reading Dr. Blasco's contract is that his membership to the Rotary is paid by the district, so it's considered a part of his job. If he's on leave, he shouldn't be doing anything related to his position. My second concern is a bit different, but it is still related to his attendance. So in the last 9 months, 2 district administrators that I know of, Kristen Cortez and Brett Willie, were placed on administrative leave, and a condition of their leaves was that they were to have no contact, direct or indirect, with anyone in the district. As an example, Kristen Cortez, who Dr. Blasco decided to transfer to a subordinate position and was put on leave without any allegations of policy violations, she wasn't even allowed to pick her own daughter up from school at Frank Wagner. So considering Bill Dela Cruz was there as a consultant from the district, along with Brenda Hunt and 2 board members, Director Whitfield and President Bumpus, I'm confused why Dr. Blasco wasn't asked to leave. This is clearly an unacceptable double standard. If this condition is not part of his leave, why? There are many accusations against Dr. Blasco for policy violations related to civility and intimidation. Why would he be allowed to have contact with anyone in the district during his leave? I respectfully request that a no contact condition be put in place until the third-party investigation into Dr. Blasco's current and previously raised violations of policy 5290 until that investigation is complete. When you add this to what I've spoken about at the last 2 board meetings, the inconsistencies in Dr. Blasco's contract, along with his contract extension, There seems to be a clear bias by the board in favor of Dr. Blasco. I hope this is not the case, and I implore you to remain neutral during this investigation and to hire an experienced, reputable agency that has not had any previous experience with the district or any of its employees. Lastly, for the sake of transparency and building trust, I ask that information regarding who's conducting the investigation is shared, along with what the process will be and how people can come forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Missy. Keith, can you please promote Janelle?
You bet. Okay, here comes Janelle.
Thank you. Hi, Janelle.
Hello there. Can everyone hear me?
Yep. Can you please state your name and your relationship to the school district?
My name is Janelle Lewis, and I am a parent to 7 children in the district. All right. We all know next Monday, as a nation, we will observe Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s birthday. I'm here today to honor his life, the impact and legacy he left for us here on earth. All too often, we hear many pay homage and refer or recite words from Dr. King's I Have a Dream speech, which he gave in August 1963. But what I want to share today are some excerpts from his final speech, I've Been to the Mountaintop, which he gave on April 3rd, 1968, a day before he was assassinated. In this speech, he references the 1,300 Black workers from the Memphis Department of Public Works who were on strike due to the long pattern of neglect and abuse of its Black employees. We mean business now, and we are determined to gain our rightful place in God's world. And that's all this whole thing is about. We aren't engaged in any negative protest and in any negative arguments with anybody. We are saying that we are determined to be men. We are determined to be people. We are saying that we are God's children. And if we are God's children, we don't have to live like we are forced to live. Now, what does all of this mean in this great period of history? It means that we've got to stay together. We've got to stay together and maintain unity. You know, whenever Pharaoh wanted to prolong the period of slavery in Egypt, he had a favorite formula for doing it. What was that? He kept the slaves fighting among themselves. But whenever the slaves get together, something happens in Pharaoh's court, and he cannot hold the slaves in slavery. When the slaves get together, that's the beginning of getting out of slavery. Now let us maintain unity. That's the question before you tonight. Not if I stop to help the sanitation workers, what will happen to my job? Not if I stop to help the sanitation workers, what will happen to all of the hours that I usually spend in my office every day and every week as a pastor? The question is not, if I stop to help this man in need, what will happen to me? The question is, if I do not stop to help the sanitation workers, what will happen to them? That's the question. Let us rise up tonight with a greater readiness. Let us stand with a greater determination, and let us move on in these powerful days, these days of challenge to make America what it ought to be. I share this speech as a reminder to us all that the quest for true racial equity and justice for all continues, and we cannot lose focus. The current state of not only our school district, but our community lies in our hands. We cannot erase, hide, or ignore ugly things that have happened here in our district. We must face and acknowledge them so we can move forward while ensuring not to repeat those same mistakes again. So tonight I challenge not only the board, but everyone who is here listening to ask yourself this simple question: what am I doing to make Monroe School District a place where everyone belongs, where everyone feels included? We honor you, Dr. King. And really quickly, I know my time is out. I was on the webinar when the board was talking about books, and I wanted to give everyone listening, especially the board, 2 of my book recommendations. The 1619 Project by Nicole Hannah Jones, and 400 Souls, which is edited by Ibram Kendi and Keisha Blaine. Thank you.
Thank you, Janelle. Keith, can you please promote Emily?
Okay. Yeah, here she is.
Hi, Emily. You're still on mute, Emily. Can
All right, there.
you please state your name and your relationship to the school district?
My name is Emily Miller. I work at Frank Wagner Elementary. I teach a 4-5 split this year. I'm also a parent in the district. I have 2 boys that go to the high school. One is a junior, the other's a sophomore. And I've lived in Monroe since 2005. So tonight I'm speaking about the leadership at the district, primarily at the district office. The decisions that have been made by Dr. Blasco have hurt not only the staff in my building, but the students that attend Frank Wagner. There's a clear disconnect from the community and the needs of the students and what is actually best for kids. My class list this year was presented to me about 2 days before school started. I had 31 4th grade students on my list. My partner teacher had 32. Mind you, the pandemic isn't over, and we are being told to set up our classrooms with a 3 feet distance from each other. My partner teacher and I didn't even have enough desks. Students were going to have to actually sit on the floor with clipboards. Our building administrators went to bat for us, but we were denied another teacher. I know that budget constraints are real and that hiring another teacher is expensive, but we are in a pandemic and Frank Wagner is a title school. We are the most impacted school in the district. Our students suffer from trauma and they are hungry. They are hungry figuratively and literally hungry. Fast forward 2 weeks into the school year and nothing was happening. Again, not from the lack of effort on the leadership at Frank. So how am I going to meet the needs of all these kids? How am I going to meet annual yearly progress so that the third principal in my 5 years at Frank doesn't get fired because we didn't meet AYP? These were the questions that were keeping me awake at night. We had to beg to get class sizes down. It just wasn't what was best for kids. After a conversation with Dr. Blasco at a Friday night football game, he said he was aware of the situation and was in conversation with leadership at Frank, and they were tossing around the idea of creating split classes. This was at least an acknowledgement, but the 5th grade classes were huge too. Again, this decision was not what was best for kids. The following Monday, Dr. Blasco paid a visit to Frank and came to see how crammed the classes were. The order to split the classes was given, and we spent 3 hours after school creating new lists that, when all was said and done, hadn't solved the problem really at all. Now we had 28 to 30 kids in each class, and we had double the work because we had 4th and 5th graders. Again, not what's best for kids. Fast forward, middle of October, 5 weeks into the school year, we did get a teacher, and so very grateful. However, once again, we had to disrupt the students and shuffle them again, some for the 3rd time, in a new classroom, new peers, new teacher. Again, just not what's best for kids. The degree to which Dr. Blasco's disengagement with this community is alarming, and he has made decisions that have left people hurting, and he has turned a blind eye. My husband teaches in a neighboring school district, and he is bombarded with questions daily about what in the heck is going on in Monroe. We just don't look good. So I really feel that we need to get good people and keep good educators that we have. So the board, I ask of you to seriously think about the legacy you want to leave. What do you want to leave as the board members? What do you want to leave? It's time for a change. I think we really need to have a clean slate in leadership. We need a superintendent who embraces strong leaders, who take bold steps to do what is best for kids. We need someone who will get to know their people, the kids, and the rest of the community, and always do what's best for kids. Thank you.
Thank you, Emily. Keith, can we please promote Lorena? Lorena.
Sure. Okay, here comes Lorena.
Thank you. Lorena, hi.
Hi,
Can you please state your name and your relationship to the school district?
Sure. My name is Lorena Lee, and I'm the student support advocate at Frank Wagner Elementary. We also live in the Monroe School District boundaries, and my daughter recently was attending Chain Lake. I've never spoken before the board, as I've always been fearful of retaliation for speaking out, but I recently learned about something that requires me to speak up for what is right. Recently, I became aware of a community meeting with Bill Dela Cruz in the Rotary. I learned that Dr. Blasco was in attendance at that meeting, which left me feeling extremely concerned. First, my understanding from Dr. Blasco's contract is that his membership to the Rotary is paid for by the district, so attendance of a Rotary meeting can be considered part of his job duties. If he is on leave, he shouldn't be doing anything related to his position within the district. I'm wondering why he was allowed to participate when we know that 2 administrators who were put on leave in the last 9 months were given strict conditions of their leave, including that they were not to have contact with anyone in the district and were at risk of losing any future monetary payments if they broke their leave conditions. I'm also concerned because from what I understand, 2 school board members, President Bumpus and Director Whitfield, were in attendance of that meeting and did not recuse themselves once it was apparent Dr. Blasco was in attendance. My second concern is optics. As you are painfully aware, the trust in this district is not just broken, it's shattered. For Dr. Blasco to be allowed to attend a meeting that the district is paying for his membership shows a lack of respect for this investigation process. Unfortunately, when there is no trust, assumptions are made. At this point in the process, there should be no room for assumptions. We should be rebuilding, but we're not. If you as the school board are truly committed to rebuilding trust, please stop making decisions that continue to erode trust. This investigation process is not meant to specifically attack any of you individually. You are all accountable for any decisions you are part of the minute you take office. That is part of being an elected official. If you think the staff and community are not paying attention and want to continue to play games with trust, I assure you it will backfire. You will lose some of the best staff this district has ever had. You will lose educators that truly love kids and want to do the hard work around equity that you are seeking. You will lose administrators who have invested years of their service to this district. To me, the stakes feel too high to continue operating at this level of smoke and mirrors. Please get honest about this process. Release information on the investigation. Who is doing it? Who will be part of the process? Will previous employees be contacted? Please start putting kids and staff first. Please do better. Thank you.
Thank you, Lorena. Keith, can you please promote Courtney?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Okay, here comes Courtney.
Hi, Courtney.
Can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you. Can
Okay.
you please state your name and your relationship to the school district?
Yeah, my name is Courtney Ramirez. I am a representative of the Monroe Education Association, and I'm reading a letter on behalf of an MEA member, Tanya Maines. She works at Park Place Middle School, and she currently can't attend the school board meeting because she is coaching a Park Place Middle School basketball game. So I'm going to read the letter on her behalf. I have been a teacher in this district since September of 2001. I am proud to be part of the Park Place Middle School staff. However, I feel it necessary to share my feelings about the current state of our district. We are in a crisis. We need transparency, accountability, and collaboration to bring us back together so that we can do the best job for our students. The school board has taken the first step by putting Dr. Blasco on administrative leave. I hope for the sake of the school district, the independent investigation will include looking into how Dr. Blasco's contract was first offered by the former school board, as well as his recent contract extension. The way in which these two events transpired were not transparent. When we heard just last week, Dr. Blasco was present at the listening session between the district hired consultant, Bill De La Cruz, and the Monroe Rotary Club. Those who were present were President Jennifer Bumpus and Board Member Chuck Whitfield. If people were not aware, according to Board Policy 5525, the school district pays for Dr. Blasco's monthly Rotary membership. Also, according to most administrative leave provisions, while on leave, the individual is to remain off of all district property and not to attend any events associated with the district. They are also directed to not have any contact, direct or indirect, in person, electronically, via email, text, or telephonically, or by other means with any employees, students, or families of employees or students of the district. Why was this meeting allowed to continue with Dr. Blasco's presence? How is this not a violation of Dr. Blasco's leave provisions? I would like some answers to why this was allowed. This does not foster trust. Unfortunately, this was not the only violation of trust that was brought to my attention last week. At last Monday's listening session I attended with Bill De La Cruz, he said that Dr. Blasco had made an untrue statement regarding what he had said. I found out the next day that Dr. Blasco told high school staff that Mr. Bill De La Cruz had told him to put Brett Willie on leave. This was not true. This is not the type of leadership Monroe needs. It was also brought up during that same Monday meeting that there were no plans moving forward with Bill De La Cruz. I know that staff members, students, principals, and community members gave time to listen and be heard by Mr. De La Cruz. Where does that work go from here? I am not aware of any plans for continued work with Bill De La Cruz. School board directors, you have a large task ahead of you, and your job is to do what's best for the students of Monroe. As a teacher, I am willing to work for what's best for our students, and the best way to do that is to move forward with district leadership we can all trust. Thank you for listening. Tanya Main.
Thank you, Courtney. Thank you, Tanya. Keith, can you please promote Jenny?
You bet. Okay, here comes Jenny.
Hello, Jenny. Jenny?
Hello, here I am.
Hi, can you please state your name and your relationship to the school district?
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Keith. My name is Jenny Tutangi, and I'm a teacher in the Montessori program at Maltby and the parent of 2 children that graduated from this district. Today, I am speaking to bring attention to something that appeared to me as an intentional act of humiliation from members of this board at the December 13th board meeting, which took place over Zoom. To conserve time, I will read an abbreviated transcript from board docs from section 3.01, board reorganization, where the incident occurred. Vice President Bumpus opened the nominations for president. Director Whitfield nominated Director Bumpus. The nomination carried. President Bumpus opened the nominations for vice president. Director Whitfield nominated Director Campbell. The nomination carried. President Bumpus opened the nominations for President Pro Tem. Director Campbell nominated Director Whitfield. The nomination carried. President Bumpus opened the nominations for WSSDA. Director Johnson nominated herself. As with the other positions, President Bumpus asks, "Are there any other nominations?" There was silence. A second time, "Are there any other nominations?" Then Director Campbell nominates Director Whitfield. With a roll call vote for Director Johnson, the nomination of Director Johnson failed. With a roll call vote for Director Whitfield, the nomination carried. I felt like I was watching a train wreck. I felt sick inside to witness such an intentional, hurtful act. The voting continued for the last 2 positions, with Director Whitfield nominating Johnson and Barnes, and they were nominated and appointed to the last two positions. To reiterate, only 2 members of this board successfully nominated others, Director Whitfield and Director Campbell. When another member, Johnson, nominates herself, the nomination fails. While this might be common practice for 1 or 2 board members to control the selection, it doesn't portray a board that gives equal power and respect to all members. As I searched our school's website for definitions of bullying behavior, I found none. Instead, a description of bullying behavior popped up on the Monroe, Wisconsin site. Included in the description is that bullying behavior is one that hurts others and is intentional. Embarrassing and humiliating Director Johnson was hurtful. It seemed intentional. It was painful to watch. Bystanders need to intervene when witnessing bullying behavior. My choice of intervention is to question. My question to Director Campbell is why he felt compelled to deny Director Johnson the position, even though he had already nominated and elected Director Whitfield to a position while Johnson had none. I also questioned the other board members, led by President Bumpus, who followed Director Campbell by voting nay, to ask themselves the same question. I hope the board can reflect on their behavior and find resources to help them repair the damage that has been done. In closing, it really is not easy for me to speak tonight. And the main reason for this is the same as for many people, including children, who do not intervene or respond to bullying behavior. Fear of retaliation. Unfortunately, retaliation has been a common practice for this district, and it has come from the top. My hope for our school community, led by our board, is to start fresh by building a solid foundation, one that operates by being inclusive and welcoming to everyone. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Jenny. Keith, can you please promote Melanie?
You bet. Let me try again. I'm looking for her. It looks like Melanie may have dropped off. I thought I saw her on the attendee list earlier, President Bumpus, but I don't see her now for some reason. Let me try one more time.
Okay.
Yeah, she's not popping up. I would recommend we move on to the next person. And if Melanie does pop back on, hopefully she'll raise her hand and we can
Jen, I have a
try and
question.
bring her in.
That would be
Say
awesome.
again?
Is this for Melanie Lockhart?
Yes, sir.
I have an email. She emailed the board and she said that she couldn't make it and she asked if we would read her email. That's her statement.
Oh, okay.
So,
Okay.
is that okay?
Director Campbell, are you okay reading it?
I'm fine reading it. It's okay. It says, let me make it nice and big so I can read it. It says, I was able to remain logged into tonight's meeting to share my comments with the board and the public if possible, and this is seen in time. I'd like to be read during my time. Regardless, I am sharing these with you tonight. It seems the reason of my personal concerns regarding this board and the school district as of late is trust, and it is clear I'm not alone in this community. To be clear, I so want to trust. I want to trust that you are helping to cultivate a safe and positive culture for all students, teachers, and staff within the walls of our schools. I want to trust that when you say you are launching a third-party independent investigation into the accusations made against Superintendent Justin Blasco, that you are doing so with an open mind and remaining impartial. Unfortunately, some of your actions speak volumes and continue to lead us down this path of distrust. Early last week, the community was given a list of where Mr. Bill de la Cruz would be participating in his listening tour. That included a visit to the Monroe Rotary Club on Wednesday, January 5th, which was publicly announced both before and after that visit. Attending that meeting was Director Chuck Whitfield, and at his invite as an active Rotary member, Board President Jennifer Bumpus. There was also at least one other school employee in attendance, and of course, Mr. Bill de la Cruz in his capacity as the district's hired DEI consultant. In addition, although on administrative leave pending an aforementioned investigation, Dr. Blasco was also at this meeting. That membership is paid for by the district, by the way, per his juicy contract. Furthermore, when it was time for the Rotary Club to do what it calls Happy Bucks, to share positivity, Dr. Blasco stood up in front of those board members, and the district employees thanked the Rotary Club for calling him to express their support with everything that is going on. Now, if the conditions of Dr. Blasco's leave fall in line with the conditions given to some other employees placed on leave, he would be prohibited from attending any events associated with MSD, such as the publicly announced listening tour activities, and he would be permitted to communicate with employees. He wouldn't be permitted to communicate with employees, families, or students of the district, even indirectly, such as announcing he's thankful for the support while in front of two board members, some district employees, and however many families while he's under investigation. If those are not actually the conditions of his leave, it begs the question of why, when that was the scope of other employees placed on leave under his leadership. Were the conditions he gave considered too harsh, or does he simply receive special treatment? And if those are the conditions of his leave, what are the consequences? And when can we expect to be informed of those being enforced in the best interest of the community? And that whole trust thing. She finishes with this: you want to be trusted, but how on earth is this community supposed to trust that you will actually conduct and listen to the results of any investigation impartially, when you say nothing about the man under investigation attending a district function and telling you about the support he has? Furthermore, President Bumpus, you continue to tell this community that this is a new board. However, this board today is made up of the same quorum of 3 as it was before. Additionally, Director Bumpus publicly endorsed 2 of the candidates who ran, and Director Whitfield endorsed one of them, knowing that would uphold a majority similar personalities as before. If you want us to believe you're a different board, it is quite simple, and act as a different board. Thank you, Melanie Lockhart, Monroe School District Mother.
Thank you, Jeremiah, and thank you, Melanie. Keith, can you please promote Mindy?
Yes, ma'am. Okay, here she comes.
Hi, Mindy.
Thank you, Keith.
Mindy,
Hello.
Mindy, can you please state your name and your relationship to the school district?
My name is Mindy Hawes, and I'm a special education teacher at Monroe High School. Today, I want to say a thank you to the board. Thank you for listening to our concerns, especially in the last few months. We appreciate that you have taken the appropriate action by starting the third-party investigation of the superintendent, and we look forward to receiving a full report of the findings. I would also like to thank President Bumpus for attending our staff meeting on Wednesday with Bill de la Cruz and for participating in the work. And I'd like to encourage the other board members to come alongside us as well and join us in the work as we work through these challenging conversations and build trust with one another. The only way forward is together. And Director Bumpus, seeing you at the high school really encouraged the staff that you are joining us in our work. We have not felt that way in the past. I've also heard from many of my colleagues that they appreciate the more frequent and transparent communication from both Director Bumpus and Acting Superintendent Whitworth during this last month. So for that, I'd also like to say thank you. But the work does not stop here. One of the reasons I'm able to be here today expressing gratitude is because for the first time in a long time, I feel like teachers are being listened to and that our opinions are valid. Teachers have had a hard time feeling this way throughout the pandemic on a national level, but also here in Monroe. So I'd like to take this time to urge you to keep listening. Spend time with those of us who are doing the work every single day. Come into our schools and observe us in our day-to-day. In speaking with Director Bumpus on Wednesday at our staff meeting, I was able to get a more clear vision of what your purpose and your goals are for our schools, and I felt like we were able to talk candidly. When your only impression of us is from the forum of public comments, I fear that you aren't gaining the full picture. In order to build trust and to build community, we need to continue on this trajectory of honest, open, and transparent communication. From my conversation with Bill De La Cruz this week, I feel like he would express very similar sentiments. We cannot do the work to better our district and our schools if we first do not have this foundation of trust. The only way to build this foundation is together. So board members, join us. Come to our schools, come to our classrooms, and have candid conversations with our staff, with our entire staff, from administrators, teachers, paraeducators, coaches, office and custodial staff. Because if our only source of information is coming from the district office officials and public comments, I fear that we will be right back where we were a few months ago in a very short period of time. Come and listen to those who you've been elected to serve. The only way forward is together. Thank you.
Thank you, Mindy. Keith, can you please promote Michael?
Yes, ma'am. Okay, here comes Michael.
Thanks, Keith. Hi, Michael. Can you please state your name and your relationship to the school district?
Sure. My name is Michael Jones, and I am a parent of 2 students at Salem Woods Elementary, as well as a special education teacher in my 9th year in the district. I speak today to emphasize a common message I have overheard lately throughout our community from families, coworkers, and even Mr. De La Cruz. And that message is that Monroe is desperately in need of a shift in culture. Our district has made the local and state news for negative reasons several times this school year alone, including for the arrest of a former district administrator for inappropriate conduct, attacks on BIPOC students, and now the placing on leave of a superintendent with stories of alleged intimidation and bullying of other administrators and staff members. The Monroe School District appears broken, and we all need to be a part of the solution, the culture shift needed to provide positive change that can benefit all students in our district, emphasizing that all means all. As a special education teacher with over half of my students being BIPOC, I have felt an urgent need to advocate on behalf of students, whom many have over 12 years remaining in this district. Mr. De La Cruz mentioned that any meaningful change in culture takes 3 to 5 years, so in my mind, the clock is ticking. The clock is ticking on helping our students grow to be better citizens in a safe environment. The clock is ticking on positively impacting the greatest number of students. And the clock is ticking on retaining amazing staff members that provide great instruction, who during a national teacher shortage certainly have options on where to teach. I chose to teach in Monroe, and I'm still proud of that decision, but how many amazing teachers looking to choose where to teach have seen the stories coming out of Monroe and decided that's not for them? How many teachers that would have been my children's favorite or your children's favorites have chosen to be the favorites of students in a different district? And how many more job openings will be left unfilled because we didn't do anything to shift Monroe's poor reputation and culture? I'd like to provide a quick anecdote as it pertains to the poor reputation in this district. I talked to my brother-in-law over winter break, who was a 2009 graduate of Monroe High School. He told me he witnessed dark-skinned mannequins being dragged from the backs of cars in the high school parking lot. He told me of all the racial slurs he overheard being hurled towards students. And he told me that it was his belief that he had graduated from the most racist high school in the country. In the 13 years since, how much has the culture changed? I don't want to bash the district because I love my community. I love the teachers, students, administrators, and families where I work at Salem Woods Elementary. I respect many of the hard workers in our district office and beyond who have impossible tasks and too much on their plates and yet do their best to provide whatever they can. And I'm very hopeful for the possibilities that positive change can provide for our children who deserve the adults in their lives to do everything in their power to ensure that they thrive. I'm hopeful that 3 years, 5 years, even 13 years from now, we can look back at this time and realize that the culture change desperately needed in Monroe started in 2022 when we were all a part of putting actions into our words, collaborating with each other and providing benefits that lasted over a generation. There is no such thing as a perfect school district, a perfect teacher, even a perfect person. But if we don't strive for improvement, nothing will improve. Our students deserve our best effort. If it's about lasting positive cultural change, I can tell you that I'm in, and I will do everything within my power to benefit students long term. Who's with me? Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Michael. Okay, we will move on to agenda item 5.01, district updates.